Hello, good evening and welcome. We've got with us tonight Darren Perks, who's going to talk to us about blogs to broadcasting. Good evening, Darren, how are you?
Good evening, Nick. I'm fine, thanks, and it's a pleasure to be doing the webinar with you.
Thanks. Well, we get the technology to work. So, great picture of you with the cameras. Could you just give us a little bit about what's happening here?
Yeah, that picture was for a news feature for ITV that we did recently. We filmed at one of the locations where I do some of my work. And you can see in the picture there that obviously myself, some of my equipment and the filming equipment, production camera.
Wow. Okay, so what we're going to cover is how it began,
Yep.
and how Darren went from zero to hero, and the 5 top tips for promoting yourself.
Yep.
So Darren, then, the skills you had to learn, how to speak people in groups, Shropshire speakers. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, Toastmasters and Shropshire speakers was a massive help for me and it's a massive help for everybody, in fact, because what it enables you to do is to have the confidence to be able to get up and speak in front of any number of people, but in your own time and in an organised and a structured way. And it helped me because over the years I've done some sort of speaking, if you like, in front of people, but I wasn't really shown how to put some structure to that so people could listen and they could relate and they could feel relaxed speaking to me. And Shropshire Speakers was a massive help, and I thoroughly recommend that if people are looking at improving the way they speak to people. So, yeah, it was a real big help.
I understand you're a founder member of the group that's just chartered, based in Telford, so well done for that.
Yeah.
I think most people would say that they'd rather die than speak. I think statistically that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to look at it, and people think that there's nothing to speaking, but actually some people, when they're faced with it, you know, if you think of a best man that has to go to a wedding and do a speech in front of 150 people, most of whom he's probably never seen before in his life.
Yeah.
You know, he might be a really, really confident person, but when it comes to it, you know, you start sweating and you get nervous and you can't get your words out. And you might be the most sociable person in the world, but when you're put in the situation, and even in the workplace as well, the Shropshire Speakers was great because it's professional, it's well managed, and there's no criticism or negativity. It's constructive criticism, so you learn as you go and you learn at your own pace. But by learning to speak and learning to organise how you speak is a very good tool to master, and Toastmasters does that very well.
I understand as well everything that's done, it gets evaluated as well, so and people get feedback on that. So I think feedback's quite important, isn't it, I guess? Yeah.
It's good to have feedback because, I mean, you can go and speak to anybody and you could be the world's best speaker or the world's worst speaker, but I think everybody in this day and age needs some sort of feedback, and it's positive feedback as well, because positive feedback helps you, negative feedback is not going to help you to want to do that again.
Brilliant. I know they've got a great structured way of actually delivering recommendations so that people feel good about learning. So, because there's different levels of speakers, isn't there? From beginners through to experience, and everybody helps each other. So yeah, I think it's a fantastic opportunity. You mentioned as well that one of the challenges that you had to learn was getting comfortable with the microphone and learning how to speak to a camera. How did you manage to do that?
Well, I had some training years ago when I worked for a holiday company, but using a microphone is actually more difficult than it seems, because first of all you need to know where in relation to your mouth, if you like, the microphone needs to go, and different situations will need different factors, if you like. For example, if you're using a microphone to say karaoke and you're blasting out a rock song, you're probably not going to be wanting to have the microphone really close to your mouth. And people have this object in their hands, and it's almost like a mind block, because as soon as the microphone is thrust into your hands, everything goes blank, or that can happen. So one of the things that I learned to do, and then people can do this at home, is, if you've got a mobile phone or you've got a smartphone that has apps where they can record, is practice just using the microphone and recorder and playing back and listening to it. With a microphone, it doesn't record your voice the same way as it sounds to someone who's standing in front of you listening to it. A microphone, and all microphones are different, they distort the sound of your voice. So where people are afraid to use a microphone because they're scared or they don't like the sound of their own voice, it can be different anyway. But by getting used to using something like a microphone, it can help take that barrier away. And also, speaking in front of the camera, one of the things that sort of clams people up and people get shy from is when, for example, a TV camera is thrust in their face, or a family member is running around with the family camcorder, and they're sort of saying, "Oh, please go away! I don't like being filmed." But if you're wanting to go into, say, broadcasting yourself and working with the media, again, one of the things that you can use, for example, the iPhone, you can record yourself on the camera, and they've got a front-facing camera, so you can see yourself recording, or even stand in a mirror doing it. And the more that you do, and you only have to do it a couple of minutes at a time, the more you will get used to it. And with a camera, what you need to keep in your mind, and this is the tip that I always use, is I look right into the lens, but I pretend that it's a person's face. I pretend that it's not a camera, it's someone's face, and I can make up that face in my mind. And that way it relaxes me, and everything flows. But each person will do that differently.
So, as though you're talking person to person, in other words, you find that's a good technique?
Yeah, it is. And I mean, if people turn on the TV and they watch, say, a journalist that's reporting from outside a court building,
yeah,
they will always talk directly to the camera. And what they do, if you look at their eyes, they are looking straight into the lens, and they're not focusing on what's around the outside of the lens. They're purely focusing on the lens. And it's the same with people that read the news. They're reading off a screen, and all their focus is on that screen. They don't ever get distracted by the cameramen behind the cameras that are moving around. And it's a really good skill to have, because your mind is focused on it. And it can be daunting, but with practice, it just can become a normal everyday thing.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that. So, believe that it was all possible to achieve. So, what skill was that you had to learn?
Well, for example, I class myself as an investigative researcher. So, the subject that I thoroughly believe in, which is UFOs and the related subjects to that effect, in your heart, you have to go out and want to go and read about them and watch documentaries and films and do your own research. It's the same as someone who wants to do knitting. If you start to knit a jumper and get out of bed and think, I don't want to do that anymore, then your heart's not in it, and you don't believe that you can do it. You've got to believe that you can achieve. In my case, I could do my own research to achieve knowledge and information to share with people.
Okay, well, that's brilliant. Thanks for that. So, believe in yourself even when others do not. So, that's one of your messages.
Oh yeah, and I get this all the time, because there are always, especially in the subject that I cover, there are always people that are quick to shoot the messenger and put you down.
Yeah.
Those people will always be around, and there will always be skeptics. And obviously I welcome skeptics, but if you don't believe in yourself, if you're not happy with what you're doing, then shows as a weakness, and the people that will try and shoot you down will pick up on that. So you've got to stay strong, and you've got to believe in yourself and believe that you can do and research and investigate the things that you set out to do. So yeah, it's a big thing, and it's quite hard for some people to do, but you keep it in your mind, then you'll do it all the time.
Oh, brilliant, thanks for that. So what did you have to believe? I mean, you said you had to believe in yourself, how to speak in groups, getting comfy with the microphone.
Yeah, believe in yourself, because you can't just think to yourself, I'm going to do this for a couple of weeks and then I'm just going to give up because there's no point. So you've got to believe that you've got the ability to do something. You know, if you want to learn to play the guitar, for example, and you really, really have always wanted to learn an instrument, put it in your heart and go for it. Don't keep putting it off, because it won't happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the priority.
Okay, so you mentioned about how you can get started, and you mentioned about doing your own research. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, obviously with what I do, from the very start, I mean, if you compare what I do to some people that are around in for example, the UFO community, some people have been around for 10, 20, 30 years. And
yeah.
I've only really had a serious interest in this for about 5 years. So by doing my own research and reading as much as I can, finding out as many things as I can, and then taking a step back and evaluating the research that I've just conducted, I was then able to see a path where, you know, I could choose specific sub-subjects, if you like, and then develop them in my own way. So rather than following the research that others have done and taking that as gospel, I followed that and taken it on board, but then put my own stamp on it, if you like, and you then develop your own way of finding out new information, and that works across the board for anything in life. You know, you may not do it the right way, what other people think you should do it, but if it's going to achieve your goal in the end, then that's a good thing.
So be the authentic you, in other words.
Yeah, because I'm one of these. I'm quite strong on this. Again, I'm going to refer to the UFO community. There are a lot of people that just follow what others do, and there's a saying, you know, don't follow the sheep. You know, put your own stamp on it, because then it does become authentic, and that people then respect you for that.
Okay. You mentioned as well that you talk to everybody about what you do after asking them first what they do. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter who they are. If you can go and speak to people, you know, even if it's in a pub or a restaurant, or you go to a spiritual group, someone says, you know, okay, oh, what do you do? You know, I'm a healer, or I'm a psychic, and then they ask what you do, and you tell them, then the chances are they're going to go and tell a few other people, and then that becomes word of mouth. So by talking to people and explaining what you do, and again explaining that, you know, this is how I like to do things, you know, I've got a really big interest in it, or I'm really good at this, it's really cool. And then because you then know what they do, they're going to go and tell their friends, you're going to go and tell your friends, and it's almost, it leads on to the networking.
Wow, so flap your gums then, in other words.
Flap your gums, yeah, that's it. Do as much talking as possible.
You mentioned...
word of mouth is massive.
Yeah, you mentioned networking with other people interested in your field. So what's the advantage of doing that? So when you network with other people, so what's the benefit there?
Contacts. Networking is one of the most important things that anybody can do in any walk of life, because if you are interested in a subject, and I'm interested in UFOs, and you don't connect with people, you might miss out on opportunities, you might miss out on valuable information, or valuable gatherings or get-togethers that you could be invited to. So by speaking to other people, obtaining their contact details, and then maybe saying to them, look, you know, I know this person that can help you with this.
Yeah.
It's almost like a continuous revolving diary. And you may not speak to someone for 6 to 12 months, but they will always remember you because you went out of your way to speak to them and you networked with them and you become a connection.
Yeah, brilliant. So meet people with the same interest and learn from them. So that sort of links in with that. Now they're looking at your opportunities to promote your message. So how do you actually go about looking for those opportunities?
Well, I'll give you my example. I mean, you know, I witnessed the UFO incident on March the 30th, 1993, and I took the opportunity to contact someone called Nick Pope, who at the time was, at the time of the incident, he worked for the Ministry of Defence and he headed the UFO investigation desk. And when I contacted Nick Pope, I took the opportunity to give him my story.
Yeah.
Because I felt then, after reading and doing research, that he should know, he was the best person to know what I witnessed. So that opportunity was massive because then he recorded it. He obviously took a record of what I witnessed, and then slowly but surely it was almost like self-promotion because I was then able to tell more people. I went to forums and different UFO news websites and put my message across, told people my account of what I witnessed. And then people sat up and took notice because then, in effect, I was like a new piece of the story. So any opportunity to tell people or even email your message or post it on social media and things, it's going to help you in the long run.
And the irony is, I suppose, is that you actually committed to make that first step. You actually took action, and I understand now that you and Nick Pope are really good friends.
Yeah, you know, we're really good friends, and you know, Nick's huge in the UFO community, and he knows so much information. And you know, I took the step. You know, if I hadn't have took that step, then my life wouldn't have changed. And you know, it was a massive decision, but one that I felt that should be done. And Nick's, you know, we're now friends, and he helps me, and I help him. It's great.
No, brilliant. Okay, so what do you do to promote yourself? You mentioned that you blog, you use a weblog. So what do you blog about?
Well, specifically, I mean, on my website, UFO Shropshire, I've got a continuous blog. Now, for example, with myself, I mean, I update my blog normally 2 or 3 times a month. And I write about incidents, maybe UFO sightings or related subjects or even documentaries and films that have been happening, because unless people, if you get people that are slightly interested in the subject and would like to know more, but don't want to go and do the research themselves, but they're quite happy to go on Google search, for example, and look up UFO, then chances are they're going to come across your blog and read it. And if you write in a way where you're not following, you know, you're telling it from your point of view, then you'll gain more interest, and people, you know, blogging is so important because it's getting your point across, but also you're sharing information. Okay,
so you post articles of interest to that group, and what I'm hearing is as well that you do something regularly and methodically, because it sounds like it's not an instant thing. You have to structure it so that you do things that are methodical and in line with your research, and you're methodical actually posting stuff so people can actually see the information.
You can't just go, for example, on my blog on the website, I can't just go and write about something that people have no idea about whatsoever. So there has to be a clear structure, and you have to write it in a way where you're not sort of jumping everybody into the deep end. You've got, when you write a blog, you've got to be a bit transparent, because not everybody's going to be on the same level of understanding as you are. So as long as you can get the main points and the main facts across, then people will understand it.
Okay. You have been known to use Facebook, so how does that help?
Facebook's massive. In my view, the number one online networking tool that anybody can have. It's a great invention, and on Facebook I have a Facebook page where it's purely about what I do, the investigation and research, and all the posts that I post about, and it goes out worldwide. Anybody can read it, it's public, and it's specifically about the UFO subject. So anybody can use a Facebook page. If you're a business, you can set up a page or even a group, and you can invite people to like that page. And what that is, it's free. It's free marketing.
Yeah.
You're putting yourself out there online for free. It's not costing you any money, but you're able to share videos, pictures, information from all around the world on what you do in your chosen subject. And I think Facebook is actually fantastic for that.
So you'd rate Facebook. You also use Twitter?
Anybody that's in business, and particularly people like myself, maybe broadcasters or people that are in the media, or people who simply have an idea or product they want to promote, and please go and get a Facebook account, because if you haven't got one, you're missing out on so much of the big promotion. So
you tweet, and how do you use Twitter and YouTube then?
Oh, Twitter again. Twitter's great because you get 140 characters and you can tweet to the world using hashtags. So, again, I'm going to refer to what I typically do. So, the UFO subject, I'm tweeting out and using hashtag UFO. I might tweet about my latest blog on my website, and I'll go and put that out. Thousands of people will read it.
So what does a hashtag mean again, Darren?
Hashtag means you put hashtag symbol in front of the word.
Yeah.
And what happens is on Twitter, it sort of feeds it into a set stream, because people on the internet will then, maybe if they search the word UFO, a tweet will come up in Google search results. So hashtag is streamlining your information to specific people around the world that are looking for that one thing.
All right, so people that are searching for it will find your tweet, in other words.
Yeah, so if say, for example, you're someone who's self-employed, you're a sole trader, for example, you might be a plumber.
Yeah.
You've just started a new business, and you've got yourself set up, and you want to talk about how you're qualified in plumbing.
Yeah.
You could write a tweet saying, I'm a plumber, so you put a hashtag symbol in front of the word plumber. What happens is everybody that's on the internet, or specifically on Twitter as well, that's looking for a plumber, you could then come up in the search results. The chances are they're going to land on your information rather than go to someone else.
Brilliant. Sounds like a good strategy.
It brings traffic to you and your products.
Okay, so what about YouTube then, Darren? How do you use that?
I use YouTube as an information and education tool, because it's where YouTube is where you can record video footage and film yourself.
Yeah.
Or, film if you want. You can put pictures on there and talk about them. But if you're filming about whatever you want, you can put up comedy things, or if you're in business, you can put up your product. What I do with it for UFO, I do a lot of night vision filming, where the equipment I use for investigations, if I feel that it's something that the public would be interested in, I will then put that video on YouTube, copy the link, post it to Facebook and Twitter, so people can then go and watch it, and people can go and have a look at the videos. And what it does, it not only does it bring thousands of hits, but you can then actually advertise on there as well, and it can create revenue for you.
Wow, every little helps. So yeah, so YouTube you can use to educate and to entertain and get paid as well.
You can, yeah, and it's free.
And it's free.
It's absolutely free, yeah.
And I understand Google.
Lots of tools to help you get set up on there, and it's very straightforward.
I understand Google also own YouTube, so it helps with the search engine optimization.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, precisely. And again, you can link it all back to your website. And that's the beauty of things now. It's so simple to use. If you all these kind of things like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, you can link them all together so that one post will appear on all three things, for example. And even things like LinkedIn, which is a business control networking website, link them all together, and you can have masses of traffic and people that will come and read your information because they will be interested in it and they'll watch your videos.
Okay, so in other words, are you saying that you use social media to point people to your website?
Definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay, so
It works. It's proven. It works whether you're an amateur or you're professional. It works all the time.
brilliant. So the sort of last three were general networking, email, and word of mouth. So how do you use those?
Well, I mean, general networking again is maybe you might go to an event or a meeting somewhere and you meet people and you speak to people that you've not spoke to before. And again, it's going back to contacts. You know, my friend knows this person that's interested in your subject. So you're then obtaining maybe their email address or website details, and then you're contacting each other backwards and forwards, and you're networking information. Email is great because someone might say, "Oh, here's so and so's card, but here's their business card or whatever. There's contact details. They've asked if you could drop them an email." And for me, that email's been a godsend because I have a lot of contacts in the United States, and I'm now gaining more contacts because my email has been passed around between the UFO community.
Yeah.
If people want to speak to me, for example, specifically about UK UFO investigation, they'll email me. And that links word of mouth as well. You know, I've lost count the amount of times that I've been stopped in the street and someone says, "Oh, you're the UFO guy." You know, I'll tell my friend about you. Have you got a website? And I'll tell them the website, and they might then go and tell 10 people or 15 people, and those 15 people will go and tell another 15 people. So it works. Word of mouth is priceless.
No, well done. So you're quite active in communicating and networking with people, and I guess interacting with them as well. So you've got like a dialogue and an interaction with them.
Yeah. You have a full dialogue and interaction, and it can be constant. You know, you don't have to be doing it all the time because it works for you when you're not physically using those things.
Brilliant. So what did this lead to then?
Right. Well, all this is going to build up a list of raving followers. You know, on social media. You know, people that like what you do, and I like your Facebook page, they're going to follow you on Twitter because they want to hear what you've got to say, and they want to hear the news and the information and the updates that you're giving. So, and again, this works. You know, you sat at the computer doing this all the time, but again, by word of mouth and what we've just spoke about by email, people will follow you, and their friends will follow you because they will be interested in what you've got to say. And that's what happens, and it's a non-stop thing. It just builds up.
So that's how the media, they contacted you, understand? So your first sort of TV stint was as a result of the social media that you did, is that right?
It was, yeah. My first media contribution was in television, and purely by chance, a journalist contacted me and said, "You know, I've been on your Twitter and your Facebook page, and you're a real life, normal person that has an interest in the UFO subject, but you have a job, you have a normal life, but you are a real person, and that's what we like about it. You know, we've seen that you're promoting yourself. Would you like to come and contribute to this TV feature?" And there you go, the door opens.
Wow. And the rest is history, as they said. So you got recognition for doing your investigation and research. How did you get that recognition then?
I think what I'll say to people is have your own opinion. You know, keep to your own opinion and have your own point of view rather than copy someone else's. Don't. Again, this is the thing about following the sheeple. You don't have to do things like the textbook or the Bible says you have to do things. You know, if I want to go on a skywatch with my night vision equipment, you know, I don't have to go to a specific place because that's where everybody else goes. You know, I have different places in Shropshire and Wales where people will think I'm pretty crazy to go walking up the hills to. But if it helps me, you know, get the best video night vision that I can then share with people, then I'll go and do it. And for example, even going back to say like something like the Roswell UFO incident, the world's most famous UFO incident, I've done my own investigation to that and I've come to my own conclusions. I've looked at the information that's been looked at hundreds of times, but I take a different view on it, and then I blog about that, and then people respect you for your view.
So they respect your opinion. So you mentioned also that regular media contribution in radio, press, and TV that came as a result of your social media, but you still maintain that. Is that right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and you know, I'm not afraid to go and contribute to the media and the press, and the reason why I do that is because I feel that people should freely be able to access the information on the UFO subject.
Yeah.
You know, whether they believe in it or not, I think it's something that it is important. The media recognise that now, and obviously the mainstream media, some of them like to do propaganda and some of them like to sort of twist things, but I think if you get a production company or a radio station that are like that, say a radio talk show,
yeah,
that want to ridicule your subject or what you do, but if you come across as someone who's very switched on, they do their own investigation, they do their own research, then it kind of makes them think twice. And you know, for instance, I've done it a couple of times where with the BBC radio, where they've sort of thought, oh, he's not the guy we thought he would be. He's not the stereotype that is portrayed, and it's great. So yeah, regular media contribution in radio, press, and TV, yeah, ongoing.
Brilliant. So I've got your biggest hits. So run through those with us. So BBC Conspiracy Road Trip.
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, to date, that's probably been the biggest hit to date. And if people go and Google BBC Conspiracy Road Trip UFO and Darren Perks, they will see why. It aired in 2012 on BBC Three.
That was a trip to America, wasn't it?
5 people. We went out to the States.
Yeah.
And made a highly controversial show, but for various reasons. But I wasn't going to go on it at first. But then when I got a chance to have a say in production, because I had a balanced view and opinion, I decided to go and do it, and it was a great decision. So.
Wow, well done. I saw that, it was good. So, the truth is out there, Australian TV. I can see a UFO there at the bottom with the light shining. Tell us what the Australian TV was about.
That was one of the first contributions I did to television, and a journalist from Australia contacted me, and he was working on the Sunday night show that airs on a TV network called Network 7.
Yeah.
And they wanted to do a feature on the British UFO mystery, and particularly the Cosford UFO mystery.
Yeah.
And they were great because the Australians are quite forward thinking and they're not scared to open things up. And they came over to the UK, and we did some filming in Shropshire near RAF Shawbury and RAF Cosford.
Yeah.
And that UFO you can see in the picture, it's a CGI reconstruction, but it's based on what I witnessed on the night of March the 30th, 1993. documentary, and they covered a lot of things that other media and TV haven't covered since. So.
Well done. And again, that was as a result of your blogging and your social media.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and as a result, actually as well, we've been in contact with Nick Pope. So, obviously becoming friends with him, and he knew my story and account, and he was able to. In fact, me and Nick Pope worked together on this one.
So the next slide, which is again, is that Network 7 Australian TV. So that's you being interviewed. And in Shrewsbury, is that, or whereabouts is that?
That's at a public house called the Harry Hotspur. At the time when I witnessed the Cosford incident, that's where I lived with my parents. And if you look at that picture,
looks a bit like a pyramid.
Picture, you'll see two trees.
Yeah.
The furthest tree away, that's basically where I was standing on the night where I witnessed the large UFO black triangle.
Yeah.
And we we spent pretty much all day filming in that general area. It was really cool because we were able to go back to that place and film on the spot, which is something that they tend to do to get away with it. So.
Oh, well done. Nice picture of you and Nick Pope, Ancient Aliens 2, season 2, filming in the Rendlesham Forest. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the Ancient Aliens is on the History Channel. It's been going for a few years, and it's probably the most recognised alien and UFO documentary show that there's ever been, to be honest. And I, alongside Nick, we went down to Rendlesham Forest, which is in Suffolk.
Mm-hmm.
It's near RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge.
Yeah.
And we went to film there. I went to film there actually about the Cosford incident and the Rendlesham Forest incident. And Rendlesham Forest happened in 1980, and it was one of the UK's biggest UFO incidents to date and remains unexplained. And we went there and we filmed in this forest all day long. And the guys, the crew, come over from America, and it was great. We actually got to see everything that the military guys witnessed on the cold December night in 1980.
Well done. Is one of you on the Moore Show on Sky TV? I remember seeing that actually. How was that? Oh, tweet! Oh, there's a Twitter, and there's a Twitter symbol near you as well. There, I can see.
Yeah. The Moore Show was really good because the Moore Show was on Showcase TV, which was a channel on Sky TV, and Kevin Moore, the host, that was a talk show. It was a bit like Oprah Winfrey, but it was based in Cardiff in Wales.
Oh, nice.
And,
a Welsh, yeah.
They said to me again. They found me through social media and through my website.
Yeah.
And they said, "Look, come on, you're a UFO investigator local to the UK. We want to know what you've got to say on the subject." And that was great because it was a talk show. It was specifically a talk show, something completely different. And what really helped me with that was the ability to sit in the studio, and rather than focusing on the camera, this time I had to focus on the host.
Yeah.
Who was sitting by me.
Was that easier, or was that easier or harder, Darren?
Sorry, say again?
Was that easier or harder?
In some respects, it was maybe a little bit harder because the host was getting messages in his earpiece in his ear all the time, and I don't know whether it was just the way that he was trained or media trained himself, but I could see I could see his concentration change when he was focusing on what was being said in his ear. So it's a little bit harder time when I did it, but now obviously I'm used to doing that. So
practice makes perfect. Now, Sean Ryder, tell us about Sean.
Sean Ryder used to be the lead singer of a band called the Happy Mondays. A production company contacted me at the end of 2011 and said, Sean Ryder, he had a history of being a bit of a wild person, but has a strong belief in UFOs, you come and film that.
Wasn't he on the I'm a Celebrity, Get You Out of Here as well type thing as well?
Yeah, I think he came runner-up in ITV I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, where they go off to Australia and live in the jungle.
Eat witchetty grubs and stuff, yeah.
He did really well, and he came across well, and he's a very, very well-known person in the music industry and on television. You know, he's a celebrity at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But he has a genuine interest in the UFO subject. You know, at a young age, he witnessed something that he's never forgotten. Behind all the music and behind all the fame that he's had, he's done what I've done. He's researched things, he's investigated them in his own way. He made sure minds on UFOs. And as we actually speak at the moment, it's yet to be aired, and there's been a slight delay on that. But what Sean did was he came to Shrewsbury and we talked again about the Cosford incident.
Yeah.
We talked about what I do as investigation and research. And he wanted to do it because, again, I'm just a normal person. You know, I'm just someone in something that I believe in. And he went around the world and filmed this production. And when it gets released on the History Channel, I think it's going to be really cool.
Oh, brilliant! Well done. So, your general radio contributions. So, you've been on BBC Local Radio, BBC 5 Live, Free Radio West Midlands, City Talk.
Free Radio West Mids, City Talk Report. I really enjoy doing radio, and I think if anyone ever has the chance to go on the radio or be interviewed on the radio and do it, it's completely different to working on television, because you have to think on your feet what you're going to say.
Yeah.
You don't have a director saying to you, or you don't have a producer saying to you, can you stand here or say this, or can you hold this, or can you walk this way? I was quite lucky enough to be, the BBC are one of my sort of main contacts in radio with the UFO subject, because they like to get me on 5 Live and talk about UFO sightings when they occur. And Radio Shropshire, which is local BBC, they're really interested in the subject, and anything that happens in Shropshire that I make public or somebody else does, I always get brought into the studio to come and talk about it. And the same on BBC West Midlands, which is BBC WM, Free Radio West Midlands, and lately I've been working with Talk in Liverpool for Planet X Live. So
that's up that tower, isn't it? Up the large tower in the centre of Liverpool, right in the centre.
Yeah, we used to call it the mothership.
It does look like a UFO, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's one of the. I think it might even be, the second or third largest structure in Liverpool, but you can't miss it. If anyone ever visits the UK and they go to Liverpool, you'll see the big Radio City Tower.
Yeah.
It's got a big sort of flying saucer-shaped disc on the top. But to do the Planet X Live show that was based at City Talk in Liverpool, we were there for over a year, and it was great to do that. So, and that was talk radio purely, no music.
Wow, brilliant. So I've got now, it's all wrapping up now, and if we need to find out more about you, I've got ufoshropshire.co.uk. So your Facebook is Darren Perks UFO, and you've got Twitter the same, and your YouTube channel is youtube.com/UFO Shropshire. So clearly, Darren, you've demonstrated that you've gone from zero to hero, that your blogging and your strategies have enabled you to broadcast your messages and to meet people that maybe you wouldn't have met had you have not started your blogging and push the boundaries, because I know you've done a lot of training as well, and you've stuck at it as you know, even though some people may not have believed or believed in you specifically. You've had a belief in yourself, and you still push forward, and you've met some incredible people, and you've had some incredible experiences, and the journey's just really begun, I guess.
It has, and it's one of those journeys that you never know what's around the next corner, and you just keep committed to it, and you just keep going. Once you start to see things working for you, then you'll always move forward in leaps and bounds. So.
Well done. Well, thanks so much indeed, Darren, especially coming on at short notice. And yeah, it's been very interesting. Some great tips there, and it really goes to show that you can start off with just a laptop. You can research your subject, become an expert, and people will recognise you by nature of your blogs and what you say as an expert and invite you on. So well done, and long may it happen. So thank you very much indeed, Darren.
You're welcome, Nick. Thanks very much.
Cheers, mate.